Classical Rebellion. Let's build a library. Okay, so this is the first installment of our Let's Build a Library. Mm-hmm. And this was your idea.
Yep.
It's two...
We're each going to pick 2 recordings
that we think are essential to have in your music library.
Yeah.
Like,
or on your playlist.
And the chances are you can just go on YouTube and listen to it.
Yes,
but
you can.
I just want to make a plea for, advance the cause of book lovers and record collectors everywhere to say that there is something terribly smug about being able to look at your shelves and see your collection laid out in front of you.
Just see it there.
Because you know what? When anybody comes to your house,
because
they come to their house, they can see your collection.
And once a week you go up and you dust it. Like, oh, clean my little babies up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've got to admit, so 2020 is the year I put together a high fidelity analog stereo system, and I'll only listen to records on it. I when you play that Traviata at your place on record, I hadn't heard a record in a long time, and I was like,
it's not even nice. That's not even that.
Like, it wasn't
not even that great a system.
No,
but
I was like, okay, yeah, this has got to happen.
When I was young, my folks made an addition onto our house, and so we had a large living room with a 10-foot ceiling and a fireplace at one end and tall bookcases. And we still do. So my dad, who was working for Convair at that time, a very middle class family, he's like, he came up with the determination to get as good a stereo system as he could afford.
Okay.
So he bought a pair of university cabinet speakers, very advanced for the time, good big solid speakers that made that room ring like the inside of a violin. Big 12-inch woofers, a mid-sized speaker and a super tweeter. A Bogen RT6000, I think it was, tuner, which at that time they said, look, it's transistorized. It's without going into the realm of the unaffordable, this is the best you can get right now. And a Dual 1019 turntable with a very finely balanceable arm. A really solid turntable. To this day, they're very collectible because they're really good. Like a 12-pound turntable, so the turn on it was extremely regular. Yeah. And belt drive. And that constitutes a musical instrument. A stereo system of that kind of quality, well, any stereo system really is a musical instrument, because you will use that to create the musical instruments that you reproduce sonically. And now, I also had a little kiddie turntable that I listened to scratched records on and stuff like that. And I got as much out of that thing as I did out of the big system. But having that big system introduced the sonics of the concert hall to my head early. Yeah. And parents out there, that's important. Put that sonic space into your children's heads. It's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's worth it.
I'm getting my daughter a record player for Christmas because
she
loves the sound.
Well, there's a warmth of sound and admittedly, it's a bit of a pain to have to turn over the record after half an hour. It seems really strange to us at this point. However, there is a warmth of sound that comes with vinyl that you just you don't quite get with CDs. They have a slightly
for sure.
Flatter, more metallic, very clear. But here's another thing to remember. When to this day, one of the best test CDs that you can get is the Sutherland Pavarotti Meta Turandot on London Records. It's now on CDs.
It's so inappropriate, but yes,
that is right. Has one of the highest widest frequency ranges of any CD that was ever pressed.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's sonically, that is the height of the recording industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, the very, very best. So if you want to test your good system, you put that on.
If you want to hear good singers in those roles, those are good singers, just not in those roles.
I love that recording anyway. But nevertheless.
Me too. It's you don't want to talk about, let's let the wild rumpus begin.
But go with the stereo, the best, if you have children around, I would strongly advise getting the best stereo system you can afford and put that sonic space into their heads and imprint them in it so that they seek out, they love that sonic space and they're going to seek out the culture that fills it.
Yeah. This mass is ended. Go in peace.
Go in peace. No,
Okay, now on
but
to the
go in peace
recordings.
with these 4 recordings. Okay, so
You wanna start?
Sure, I'll
Okay,
start.
all
I
right.
mean, and with my tastes, admittedly, run to the historical.
Yes.
So I'm going to stay
Well,
away,
mine
and
are
live
historical as
performances
well.
as well.
Yep.
I mean, I'd be picking opera broadcasts from 1940 from the Met, you know, and,
Sure.
and it's like, you know, Elizabeth Rathberg and Giovanni Martinelli in the opening night Otello, you know,
Ah.
but. You know, I mean, hasn't got the sonics that people are really going to be attracted to until they know these pieces inside out. So, for now, I'm going to say for my first recording, the Roger Norrington Beethoven 9. Now you can get all 9 of the symphonies conducted by Norrington. These were really, I think, for my money, the finest set of recordings of the Beethoven symphonies on period instruments using things like narrow bore brass and natural horns and wooden mallets on skin drum heads, you know, for the timpani.
Yeah.
It gives you, and at the end, the last part of the Beethoven, when the chorus has their last note and the orchestra comes back in, and the triangle is just having a holiday, and there is a jangly, just a jingle jangle, like all of the bright things are just fluttering in the air like this. It's magic. It's just magic, and for me, I love Toscanini. But you know, until you hear these pieces in really good sonics, I think you won't appreciate the value of the flatness of those Studio 8H recordings. The Toscanini recordings are wonderful, but there are others. There are so many others. Beethoven 9 with Roger Norrington on EMI and the London Classical Players and the Schutz Choir. It's a landmark recording.
Yeah, and I'll just add a little cadenza to that. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum would be
Bruno Walter.
George Schulte conducting the Beethoven 9 at the Proms with Jessie Norman. May she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace, indeed.
That performance is there's no words. It's incredible.
I've never seen it. I've never seen
it's
it.
on YouTube.
Okay.
And it's a full 2 or 3 opera choruses. It's not
Oh,
this,
sure,
it's
sure,
not
sure,
this
sure.
British choral sound.
Right.
It's opera choruses.
No,
it's Jessie Norman.
And it's big. It's big.
She's like a Pez head. She's like,
She did. Her mouth was like.
But man,
There should be a Jessie Norman Pez head.
There's not a lot for that quartet to do in the Beethoven 9, but it's thrilling.
Oh, it is.
It's completely, like I said, the other end of the spectrum from
No,
Norrington.
that's going to be broad and elegant.
Yeah.
And the Norrington recording is
tight
yeah. and crisp, and if you want to have the idea of how Beethoven heard that piece, or would have if he could have heard it, how the sonic landscape he had in his head, that's really where you want to go, and then branch out from there.
Yeah,
Everybody under the sun has recorded the Beethoven Ninth, and so look around on YouTube and find somebody else that you like with a modern orchestra and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going with. Let's start with the 1951. So it's mono.
Okay.
It's not stereo, but the sound is quite good.
Oh, I have nothing against monophonic.
It is Wilhelm Furtwängler conducting the Philharmonia at their peak with Kirsten Flagstad and Ludwig Sudhaus in Wagner's Tristan und Isolde.
Studio recordings?
Studio recording,
Okay.
but they had just come off a run at Covent Garden. So this was Furtwängler conducting this cast at Covent Garden. It's
Where did they record it? Do you know?
at EMI.
They recorded it in the but they didn't record it in the opera house.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So Flagstad, this is her swan song. She's hanging the roll up. And I've got to tell, I think clearly everyone involved in that endeavor knew that. And I think they rose to the occasion for that.
Oh, I have no doubt. I mean, she desperately wanted to be a part of the Ring 10 years later, you know, and when Schulte was
in the stereo.
And they did a couple of acts, one with, I think the first act with Knappertsbusch conducting and the second act with Schulte, the third act with Schulte conducting. So we almost have a complete Walküre, with her. And if only they'd recorded the second act as well, but with somebody else. But Flagstad today, Kirsten Flagstad, that voice,
Boy, you got no idea.
People
We're
have
only hearing it recorded.
people have no idea what she did for Wagner's music and the level to which she rose as a vocalist. A massive voice. And a beautiful one, and she today is being persecuted out of her own country. Her legacy is being persecuted out of Norway because she chose to go back home during the war because her husband was there. And
that doesn't make you a Nazi sympathizer.
It doesn't make you a Nazi sympathizer, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
So Norwegian people, people over there, it's wrong. You need to put her stuff back in the opera house because she's the greatest thing ever to come out of Norway by way of a singer.
Largest, by all accounts, the most voluminous voice of the 20th century.
And
undisputed.
A great artist, a great interpreter of Wagner's roles, a great interpreter of his songs. She's a magnificent. It gave a magnificent gift to opera and to world music.
It's been said of her, Isolde, that she represents all womanhood and not just this one kind of wanton erotic character, but that Flagstad as Isolde. Now, it's fallen out of style. Granted, but still, it's a special thing. And Sudhaus is phenomenal. What a voice! You don't hear that kind of singing very often. I mean, that's a full Helden. That's pleasant to listen to.
Not a recording I'm familiar with. I have the Melchior.
Can't mess with that.
Recording from the early 1940s, I think. I'm trying to remember. Is it Beecham?
Could be.
Yeah, I think it might be. Anyway, it's
the only downside to this Furtwängler set is Fischer Dieskau as Kernval.
You don't like his voice. I mean,
not as the grizzled veteran. Yeah, you want to sing Dieterliebe? Fine. But not this grizzled warrior. Come on.
No, that's true.
No, I'm not a fan of him.
He was very, very young at the time as well.
Yeah, and he was very
very, very young.
Yeah. So that's the only, but
for Sudhaus and Flagstad and Furtwängler,
yeah,
I can understand that.
What's his name from Slip Disc? Shoot, I can't remember his name. Norman Lebrecht just did a thing about Furtwängler, and he said there's only one conductor who has ever come close to resembling Furtwängler's style and results, and that's Gergiev. With this kind of indecipherable
the trembling hand.
Yeah, and that Furtwängler, when he first conducted, people were like, "That's not a conductor. What's he doing? He's not keeping time. Why is he?" Like, it was a mystery to the audience because he found keeping time boring.
Right. No, he was a very cerebral conductor.
Oh yeah. Completely overeducated. His father was the cutting edge of archaeology in the early 20th century.
And Furtwängler was a composer as well.
Yes, he was.
Quite a competent one. I would say, I understand, the mystery. I can get my head around the notion of the mystery of Furtwängler as a conductor. He's not my favorite conductor of the Ring. Ring.
Okay.
Knappersbusch to me gets the end of the Ring, the summation, better. Furtwängler is more passionate and rushing ahead to the end.
In that one documented,
Well, So I
the La Scala Ring.
It's not my favorite, but
this you got to listen to this Tristan.
If you've never heard Tristan and Isolde before,
this is the one to start with. I'm sorry.
But you have to understand.
Are tragically flawed.
You have to understand also, though, that Tristan is. Some people watch the Olympics to watch the 100-yard dash.
Right.
Some people watch the Olympics to watch the pentathlon.
Yeah, right.
Some people watch to watch the decathlon, and some people watch to just watch the marathon. Mm-hmm. Tristan's the marathon. It's a massive opera, and the demands that it puts on singers are prohibitive to most singers.
Yeah.
It's incredibly difficult to sing because you're singing for four and a half hours.
Yeah.
And in a lot of that time, you're singing very intensely about love and
Yeah.
love and love.
All aspects.
I mean, Furtwängler plus Flagstadt plus Suthouse equals Barry White.
Yeah, that's right.
To coin a phrase.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's something that you don't get all at once. It's something that you come to over time. So I'm just, for the people that are out there who have no idea what it is, or
Right.
have never listened to or sat through
Boy, if
a
you,
Tristan.
yeah, that's,
And it's so rare to get a Tristan, really, of a production of Tristan on an opera house's season that's going to be of note,
yeah,
without cuts, and they're gonna.
and with a
that people-
competent cast.
People flock to it. That's why people flock to Wagner, is because the demands are so high. It's an event. It's a
is.
big event.
It is.
And so,
So here's a caveat.
yeah,
This is not a recording to found your collection upon.
but it's something you should have.
It's something you should have. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, good.
All right. Well, no, okay.
Get
So
another one?
my second recording for tonight is a bit more obvious.
Okay.
And this is something that if you go down to the thrift shop, you'll probably there's a very good chance that you're going to find a copy of it, because it's probably one of the most sold classical music pressings of all time, and it's the RCA Living Stereo recording of the Pictures in an Exhibition
Okay.
and Night on Bald Mountain with Fritz Reiner and the Chicago Orchestra,
Very good.
the Chicago Symphony on RCA. You can't paw through a trove of records without finding that disc, because
incredible.
it's an incredible recording sonically. The performance, the intensity of it is just, and it was done in about 19, I don't know, 59 or
Yeah,
59
it's got to be
or
late
60.
50s if it's stereo.
But it is stereo.
Yeah.
And but to hear Ravel's orchestration so clearly and so passionately delivered and delicately delivered, it's shattering. It's just a shattering recording. And Reiner got, I mean, there's an old story about Fritz Reiner, that his conducting was very small. He conducted like this. And I read in a book of music anecdotes once that a clarinetist once brought a pair of binoculars to rehearsal, and Reiner was conducting, and so he was going like this, and he said Reiner just put down the baton, looked at him, and pointed at him and said, as in go. And he just got up and went out.
That's funny. Oh man.
But
That's
so
good.
Fritz Reiner and the Chicago Symphony, Pictures of an Exhibition, and those are available on CD now. There's a whole box set of the living stereo recordings.
okay.
So if you can afford it and you want to start a really good classical music collection, just buy the whole living stereo collection.
Yeah, they're
because they're
fantastic.
great.
Yeah.
Great recordings.
Yeah. And I was going to go for my second. I was going to go a little historical, but I've changed my mind. We'll save what I had for another episode. And I'm going to go with Scheherazade. And you can guess who. Who's the conductor, John?
Well,
There's one.
is there one?
There's one.
Is there one? Well, I mean, I have
There's
about...
a few, but Thomas Beecham is.
I was going to say, it's got to be either Beecham or Reiner.
Yeah.
Because Reiner recorded it on living stereo as well, but Thomas Beecham's recording on...
It never. I don't. Like, here's the thing about that, Tristan.
I think you're right. Scheherazade, if you want to start a classical music collection, start with Scheherazade.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you should buy.
Yeah.
It'll be one of the funnest things you ever listen to. And as an example of solo instrument writing, orchestral writing, orchestration, and the art of conducting and performance for symphony orchestras, there's hardly anything more comprehensively succinct than Scheherazade.
Yeah, and both those recordings, they're both on the Furtwängler Tristan and the Beecham EMI. I know for sure that the Furtwängler has never been out of the catalog since 1951. It has always been available at full price.
Full market price.
A lot of times they'll reissue those older recordings at a budget price.
Right.
You can pick up some fantastic recordings. At least you used to be able to for $6.99, $5.99.
Yeah.
The Beecham also always full price.
Really?
Oh yeah, yep, always, because
No.
why would you give the best stuff away?
Why would you give it away?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Thomas Beecham was the founder of the London Philharmonic Orchestra. His father was
Philharmonic or symphony?
Philharmonic, I believe.
Because I thought Philharmonic meant that the players put it together. That's if it's a Philharmonic, that means it was started by the players. Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Let's see. London
I guess I'm assuming because I was just
Symphony Orchestra. Founded in 1904. Henry. Okay, so it's not
wait.
that.
Go down to history.
No, that's not.
Okay.
There's no Beecham there.
Let's look up London
look.
Phil.
Oops, Unden. Jesus. Principal conductor, Hesepecus London. Oh, founded by Walter Legg.
Oh, look up the Philharmonia. Oh no, wait, no, that's the Philharmonia.
Oh, that's Philharmonia. What the crap?
What the?
Nick. It's founded by
Beecham and Sargent.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
No, so Beecham and I didn't know Malcolm Sargent was the co-founder, but Beecham's father. There used to be something called Beecham's Little Liver Pills, and he made a lot of money in pharmaceuticals. And I think Beecham Pharmaceuticals is still SmithKline Beecham.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah. So he had loads of dough. It just also happened that he was an incredibly talented musician.
Yeah.
And
very funny.
And very funny. A great utterer of bon mots.
Yeah.
And so he founded his own orchestra to have an orchestra to conduct, and it survives today. It thrives as the London Philharmonic.
You've heard of that movie Star Wars.
That's right.
The first ones.
They had a hand in that, didn't they?
The first ones was the London Symphony Orchestra.
I remember in '77 listening to KPRI, well, having it on because I was a kid trying to be cool, and KPRI was like FM 106, an acid rock station.
Oh, nice.
And then they'd finish with that one, and Star Wars was the number one on the radio on a rock station. People, they just cut out and play a 3.5-minute version of Star Wars.
Great.
And that was the London Philharmonic getting royalties right there.
Nice. Oh my
so
gosh.
That's Beecham and the London Philharmonic is a great
with
combination.
Scheherazade though. Scheherazade, you can. It's not like Sex and Pizza. You can ruin it.
You have to try. I mean, you have to basically. Yeah, you can ruin anything if you're incompetent.
Yeah.
But if you're at all competent, Scheherazade is indestructible because it's just so great.
It is. Yeah.
So there's the first couple of installments of things to have. A few hints. You got the Roger Norrington. You've got the Beethoven 9. You've got the Fort Wengler Flagstadt Suthouse Tristan and Isolde. You've got Night on Bald Mountain with Fritz Reiner and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And you got Thomas Beecham and the London Philharmonic with
Scheherazade. So now you can order pizza, have some sex, and listen to some music.
Well, I'll tell you, there's very few things that would go better with that than Scheherazade.
That's true.
And with that, Classical Rebellion.
Oh, I'm getting a little bothered.